The sun was setting over the small town of Maplewood, casting a golden glow across the fields and forests that surrounded it. The air smelled faintly of pine trees and damp earth after an afternoon rainstorm. For most people, this would be the perfect time to relax at home, maybe sip some hot chocolate or watch TV. But for Malik and Jamal, two adventurous brothers who lived on the edge of town, evenings like these were meant for exploration. Malik, the older brother at 14, had always been protective of his younger sibling, 12-year-old Jamal. They shared everything: secrets, snacks, and their love for adventure. Every day after school, they wandered through the woods behind their house, pretending they were explorers discovering new worlds. Sometimes they found cool rocks or animal tracks. Other times they just raced each other to see who could climb the tallest tree faster. Today, however, their adventure took a turn neither of them expected. It started with a sound, a faint splash coming from the riverbank about half a mile away. At first, Malik thought it might be a deer taking a drink, or maybe even a fish jumping out of the water. But when he heard what sounded like groaning, his curiosity got the better of him. "Jamal," he whispered, grabbing his brother's arm. "Did you hear that?" Jamal nodded, wide-eyed. "Yeah, what do you think it is?" "I don't know," Malik said, squinting toward the direction of the noise. "Let's check it out." They crept closer, stepping carefully so as not to make too much noise. As they approached the river, they saw something, or rather someone, lying face down in the mud near the water's edge. It was a man, dressed in clothes far fancier than anything Malik or Jamal had ever seen. His suit jacket was torn, his tie askew, and his once polished shoes now caked in dirt. He looked like he'd been dragged through the forest by wild animals. Malik hesitated for a moment before rushing forward. "Hey, are you okay?" The man stirred weakly, lifting his head just enough to look at them. His face was pale, his eyes bloodshot, but there was something familiar about him. Then it clicked. "Wait a minute," Jamal gasped, pointing at the man. "Isn't that Mr. Harrison, the billionaire guy from the news?" Malik frowned. "What's he doing here?" Mr. Harrison tried to speak, but all that came out was a raspy cough. Malik knelt beside him, helping him sit up against a tree trunk. Up close, the man looked even worse. His usually neat hair was matted with sweat, and his hands trembled as he clutched his chest. Who are you?" Mr. Harrison croaked, blinking rapidly as if trying to focus on their faces. "My name's Malik, and this is my brother Jamal," Malik replied quickly. "We live nearby. What happened to you?" For a moment, Mr. Harrison didn't answer. Instead, he glanced nervously over his shoulder as though expecting someone or something to appear from the shadows. Finally, he spoke in a low, urgent voice. "They tried to take me," he muttered. "I barely escaped." "Who tried to take you?" Jamal asked, leaning closer despite his growing unease. Mr. Harrison shook his head, wincing in pain. "Not here. I can't explain now. Just help me get somewhere safe. Please." Malik exchanged a worried glance with Jamal. This wasn't exactly how they'd imagined spending their evening. Still, they couldn't leave the man alone in the woods, especially if he was telling the truth about being chased. "All right," Malik said firmly. "We'll help you, but we need to move fast." Jamal ran back to their house to grab blankets and bottled water while Malik stayed with Mr. Harrison, making sure he didn't pass out. By the time Jamal returned, the man seemed slightly more alert, though still shaky. Wrapping him in a blanket, the boys helped him to his feet and guided him slowly back toward their home. As they walked, Mr. Harrison began to share bits and pieces of his story. He explained that he was one of the richest men in the world, known for creating cutting-edge technology that pushed the boundaries of science. Lately, though, his work had attracted unwanted attention. Someone, or something, wanted his latest invention badly enough to kidnap him. "What kind of invention?" Malik asked, unable to contain his curiosity. Mr. Harrison hesitated, then lowered, his voice even further. "Something extraordinary. Something that could change everything. But it's dangerous in the wrong hands." Before he could elaborate, A loud rustling sound made them freeze. All three turned toward the trees, hearts pounding. Was someone following them, or was it just the wind? After a tense moment, the noise faded, and they continued walking. When they finally reached the safety of the boys' house, Mr. Harrison collapsed onto the couch, utterly exhausted. Malik and Jamal brought him food and water, listening intently as he revealed more details about his ordeal. He told them that earlier that day, he'd been ambushed outside his private lab. Armed men had forced him into a van and driven him deep into the countryside. Somehow, during the journey, he managed to escape by kicking open the door and rolling into the woods. That's where Malik and Jamal found him hours later. But why? Would anyone want to hurt you? Jamal asked, frowning. Mr. Harrison sighed heavily. Because what I've created isn't just valuable, it's revolutionary. And some people will stop at nothing to get it. The boys exchanged another glance, unsure whether to believe him. Billionaires didn't typically end up muddy and scared, in the middle of nowhere. Yet there was something about Mr. Harrison's desperate tone that rang true. "We'll help you," Malik said finally, surprising even himself. "But you have to tell us everything." Mr. Harrison nodded gratefully. "You won't regret this," he promised, "and neither will the rest of the world." Little did Malik and Jamal know those words would prove truer than they could possibly imagine. Their quiet lives were about to become anything but ordinary, and the choices they made in the days ahead would impact not only their family, but potentially the entire planet. For now, though, they focused on keeping Mr. Harrison safe. As night fell, the boys kept watch from their bedroom window, scanning the dark streets for any sign of trouble. So far, everything seemed calm, but deep down, they both sensed that this was only the beginning of a much bigger story. The next morning, the sun rose over Maplewood, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Inside Malik and Jamal's small but cozy house, things were anything but normal. Mr. Harrison had spent the night on their couch, wrapped in blankets and still looking like a man who'd been through hell. The boys' parents weren't home. They worked long hours at a factory in the city. But Malik and Jamal knew they couldn't keep this secret forever. For now, though, their focus was on helping the mysterious billionaire recover and figuring out what to do next. As Malik made breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, he noticed how quiet Mr. Harrison was. The man sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the wall, his hands clasped tightly together. It was clear he was lost in thought, maybe even afraid. Jamal, ever the curious one, decided it was time to ask more questions. "So," Jamal began, plopping down across from Mr. Harrison, "you said someone tried to kidnap you because of your invention. What exactly is it?" Mr. Harrison hesitated, glancing toward the window as if expecting someone to barge in. Then, with a deep sigh, he leaned forward and spoke in a low voice. "It's called the Starlight Engine," he said. "It's a device that can harness energy directly from stars. With it, we could power entire cities for free, or send humans to other planets, faster than anyone ever dreamed possible." Malik nearly dropped the spatula he was holding. "Wait, you mean like space travel? Like real spaceships?" "Yes," Mr. Harrison replied, nodding slowly. "But it's not just about exploration. This technology could solve so many problems here. On Earth, clean energy, no pollution, endless possibilities. Unfortunately, it also has darker uses." "Darker uses?" Jamal echoed, frowning. Harrison rubbed his temples, looking exhausted. "Imagine if someone weaponized it. They could destroy entire worlds, or enslave them. That's why I've kept it, hidden until now. But word got out somehow and suddenly everyone wants it." "Everyone?" Malik asked, raising an eyebrow. "Not just humans," Harrison admitted grimly. "Aliens, too." For a moment there was complete silence. Malik and Jamal stared at him, unsure whether to laugh or be terrified. Aliens? Really? Sure, they'd seen movies about little green men and flying saucers, but this wasn't supposed to happen in real life. Yet something about Mr. Harrison's tone told them he wasn't joking. "You're serious," Malik said finally. "Dead serious," Harrison replied. There are civilizations out there far more advanced than ours. Some want to help us, others, well, let's just say they don't have our best interests at heart. And then there's the consortium. The consortium? Jamal repeated, tilting his head. A group of powerful elites, some human, some not, who operate in the shadows, Harrison explained. They claim to represent humanity's future, but I suspect they're working with hostile alien factions. Their goal is simple: control. Control of Earth, control of its resources, and control of my invention. Jamal gulped loudly. So basically, they're bad guys. Very bad, Harrison confirmed. And they won't stop until they get what they want. Malik set the plates of food on the table, trying to process everything he just heard. Okay, so what happens now? Are you going to call the police or something? Harrison shook his head. No police. They can't protect me, not against these people. Besides, half of them might already be working for the consortium. Then what do we do? Jamal asked, his voice tinged with panic. We stay hidden, Harrison said firmly. For now, anyway. I need time to repair the prototype I was working on before they attacked me. If I can get it running again, I might be able to send a signal to allies who can help us. Malik crossed his arms, thinking hard. And where is this prototype? In pieces, Harrison admitted. Back at my lab, but I managed to grab some parts when I escaped. I think I can rebuild it here. Here? Jamal exclaimed, pointing at the tiny kitchen. You're gonna build a spaceship engine in our house? Not the whole thing, Harrison clarified. Just enough to communicate. Trust me, I've done crazier things. Malik glanced at Jamal, then back at Harrison. All right, he said after a pause. We'll help you. But you have to promise us one thing. What's that? Harrison asked. That you'll explain everything, Malik said firmly. No secrets, no lies. Harrison nodded solemnly. Deal. Over the next few days, life in the boys' house became surreal. During the day, Malik and Jamal helped Harrison gather tools and materials from around town, always careful not to draw attention to themselves. At night, they took turns keeping watch outside, scanning the streets for any sign of trouble. Meanwhile, Harrison worked tirelessly in the basement, piecing together fragments of his invention. The device itself looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Twisted wires snaked across the floor, connecting strange metal components that hummed faintly with electricity. A glowing crystal sat at the center, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Whenever Malik or Jamal peeked into the basement, they couldn't help but feel awestruck and a little scared. One evening, as they sat around the kitchen table eating dinner, Jamal brought up a question that had been bothering him. If aliens are involved, does that mean they're coming here? To Earth? Harrison sighed, pushing his plate aside. Some already are. Not all of them are friendly either. But there are good ones too, civilizations that believe in peace and cooperation. My hope is that they'll hear the signal and come to help us. But what if the bad ones show up instead? Jamal pressed, his eyes wide. Then we fight, Harrison said simply. Malik frowned. With what? We don't even have weapons. We'll figure it out, Harrison replied, though his voice lacked confidence. By the fourth day, strange things started happening in Maplewood. Black helicopters began circling overhead, their rotors cutting through the quiet afternoon air. Men in dark suits appeared in town, asking questions about strangers or unusual activity. One evening, Jamal spotted a suspicious car parked near their house. Inside sat two men wearing sunglasses, even though the sun had long since set. They're watching us, Jamal whispered to Malik later that night. I'm sure of it. Malik felt a chill run down his spine. Do you think they know Harrison's here? Don't know, Jamal admitted, but we can't take any chances. The next morning, Malik and Jamal confronted Harrison about the situation. We think someone's onto us, Malik said bluntly. Harrison didn't seem surprised. It was only a matter of time, he muttered. They must have tracked my escape route. So what do we do now? Jamal asked anxiously. Keep calm, Harrison instructed. Panic will only make things worse. Just stick to the plan. Once the communicator is ready, we'll send the signal and wait for backup. But what if backup doesn't come? Malik persisted. Harrison hesitated, then placed a hand on each of their shoulders. Then we'll face whatever comes next. Together. Though his words were meant to reassure them, Malik and Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that danger was closing in fast. Still, they refused to give up. After all, how many kids could say they'd helped save the world? That night, as the boys lay in bed, Jamal turned to Malik. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Malik thought for a moment, then smiled faintly. "I don't know. But I do know one thing. We're not backing down now." Jamal grinned back. "Yeah. Let's show those aliens, and the consortium, that they messed with the wrong family." As sleep finally claimed them, neither boy realized just how true those words would soon become. The arrival of Commander Lyra changed everything. Her presence was both awe-inspiring and unnerving, like something out of a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. Malik and Jamal couldn't stop staring at her shimmering skin and glowing eyes, which seemed to pierce through them as if reading their thoughts. Yet, despite her otherworldly appearance, there was a warmth in her demeanor that put them at ease. She spoke calmly, but with authority, explaining the gravity of their situation while outlining the steps needed to stop the consortium. "Earth is on the brink of a war it cannot win alone," Lyra said, pacing slowly around the basement. "If the consortium succeeds in seizing Mr. Harrison's invention, they will use it to enslave your planet, and others like it. But we can prevent that." Harrison nodded grimly. "With your help, Lyra, I believe we can expose their plans and bring them down." Lyra turned to face him, her expression serious. "Exposing them won't be enough. We need concrete evidence. Video, footage, documents, anything that proves their collaboration with hostile alien factions. Without it, the Galactic Federation won't intervene directly." Malik raised his hand hesitantly, feeling like he was back in school. "So, how do we get this evidence?" Lyra smiled faintly. "That's where you come in. The plan was risky, but it was also their best chance. Using Lyra's advanced technology, they studied holographic maps of the consortium's underground headquarters. It was a labyrinth of tunnels, secret rooms, and high-tech security systems designed to keep intruders out. Armed guards patrolled every corridor, and surveillance cameras monitored every move. Breaking in would require precision, stealth, and nerves of steel. "We'll split into 2 teams," Lyra explained. "Mr. Harrison and I will stay here to monitor your progress remotely. Malik and Jamal, you'll infiltrate the base and retrieve the evidence." "What?" Jamal exclaimed, his voice cracking slightly. "You want us to go in there?" "You're small, quick, and resourceful," Lyra replied. "And most importantly, no one expects children to pose a threat." Malik frowned, glancing at his brother. "She's got a point, Jam. They won't see us coming." Jamal swallowed hard, trying to muster some courage. "All right, fine. But what happens if we get caught?" "You won't," Lyra assured him. "Remember these energy shields? They'll protect you from harm, as long as you don't do anything reckless." Malik and Jamal exchanged nervous looks. This wasn't exactly how they'd imagined spending their weekend, but backing out now wasn't an option. By nightfall, the group had finalized their preparations. Lyra equipped Malik and Jamal with tiny earpieces so she and Harrison could guide them remotely. She also gave them compact devices capable of recording video and audio, which they could use to capture the evidence they needed. As they approached the edge of the forest near the consortium's compound, Malik felt his heart pounding in his chest. The air was cold, and the moonlight cast eerie shadows across the ground. Ahead of them loomed a massive iron gate surrounded by barbed wire and guarded by men in dark uniforms. "This is it," Malik whispered, gripping the energy shield tightly. "Let's do this." Following Lyra's instructions, the boys crept along the perimeter until they found a hidden entrance. A narrow tunnel burrowed beneath the fence. It was barely wide enough for them to crawl through, but it led straight into the compound. Once inside, they moved cautiously, sticking to the shadows and avoiding the beams of light cast by security cameras. "Okay, you're clear," Lyra's voice crackled in their ears. Head left toward the main control room. That's where they'll have stored the incriminating files. Malik nodded, motioning for Jamal to follow him. The corridors were dimly lit, the walls lined with pipes and wires. Every step echoed loudly, making them cringe with each movement. Suddenly they heard voices ahead. 2 guards stood outside a heavy metal door, chatting casually. "What do we do now?" Jamal whispered, his voice trembling. Malik thought quickly. Spotting a nearby janitor's cart, he grinned. "Leave this to me." He grabbed a mop from the cart and began dragging it noisily across the floor. The guards immediately turned their attention toward the sound, frowning suspiciously. "Who's there?" one of them barked, stepping forward. Before they could react, Malik activated his energy shield, creating a bright flash of light that temporarily blinded the guards. Seizing the opportunity, Jamal darted past them and slipped through the door, closing it behind him before they recovered. Inside, the room was filled with computer screens displaying live feeds from cameras throughout the facility. Files labeled "Classified" and "Top Secret" were scattered across desks. "Hurry up," Lyra urged. "Record everything you can." Jamal frantically worked the device Lyra had given him, capturing images of documents and downloading data onto a portable drive. Meanwhile, Malik kept watch at the door, ready to activate his shield again if necessary. Just as Jamal finished, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Red lights flashed overhead, illuminating the room in harsh bursts of crimson. "They know we're here," Malik shouted. "We need to get out now." The boys sprinted through the corridors, dodging guards and leaping over obstacles. Behind them, shouts echoed as the consortium's forces scrambled to catch them. At one point, a guard fired a stun gun, but Malik's shield absorbed the blast, sending sparks flying harmlessly into the air. "Go, go, go," Lyra's voice urged in their ears. "Take the east exit, it's less guarded." Bursting through a side door, Malik and Jamal found themselves in a deserted parking lot. Without hesitation, they raced toward the woods, disappearing into the darkness just as reinforcements arrived. Back at the house, Lyra and Harrison watched anxiously as the boys' location blinked steadily on a tracking screen. When Malik and Jamal finally burst through the front door, breathless and exhilarated, everyone erupted into cheers. "You did it!" Harrison exclaimed, clapping them on the back. Lyra took the portable drive from Jamal and inserted it into her communicator. Within moments, holographic projections of the consortium's plans filled the room. Videos of meetings with alien leaders, blueprints for weapons, and detailed strategies for invading Earth. "This is all the proof we need," Lyra said, her tone triumphant. "The Federation will act immediately." But before anyone could celebrate, another knock sounded at the door. This time it wasn't just one visitor. It was dozens. Black helicopters descended from the sky, surrounding the house with searchlights. Armed men poured out, shouting orders and aiming weapons. "They found us," Harrison muttered, his face pale. Lyra stepped forward, her glowing eyes narrowing. "Stay behind me," she commanded, raising her hands. A bright light erupted from her palms, forming a protective barrier around the house. Outside, the men hesitated, unsure of what to do next. "Don't worry," Lyra said, turning to the others. "Help is already on the way." As if on cue, the sky above Maplewood suddenly parted, revealing massive starships hovering silently in the atmosphere. Beams of light shot down, enveloping the armed men and neutralizing their weapons. "The cavalry has arrived," Lyra announced, with a smile. For Malik and Jamal, standing there amidst the chaos, it felt like the world had shifted forever. Their quiet little town was now the center of an intergalactic showdown, and somehow, they were right in the middle of it. The sight of the massive starships descending from the heavens was nothing short of awe-inspiring. Their sleek metallic surfaces gleamed under the moonlight, and their sheer size dwarfed everything around them, including the helicopters and armed men still lingering outside Malik and Jamal's house. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Everyone, human and alien alike, stared upward in stunned silence as the ships unleashed beams of light that neutralized weapons and immobilized The consortium's forces. Commander Lyra stood at the center of it all, her glowing eyes fixed on the unfolding scene. She turned to Malik, Jamal, and Mr. Harrison with a reassuring smile. "The Federation fleet is here," she said. "We've taken control of the situation." Malik and Jamal exchanged wide-eyed glances, unable to believe what they were seeing. This wasn't just some sci-fi movie. It was real life. Aliens, spaceships, and intergalactic battles had suddenly become part of their everyday reality. "But what happens next?" Jamal asked nervously, clutching his energy shield tightly. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Now we clean up the mess the consortium has made. Once we secure the evidence you retrieved, the Galactic Council will ensure justice is served not just for Earth but for every species affected by their crimes." Mr. Harrison nodded solemnly. "And what about Earth? Will we be safe now?" "For now," Lyra replied. "But humanity must learn to defend itself better. Technology like yours," she gestured toward Harrison, "can either protect or destroy. It's up to your people to decide how to use it wisely." As dawn broke over Maplewood, the world began to awaken to the news of what had transpired during the night. Reports flooded social media and news outlets about strange lights in the sky, mysterious disappearances of armed personnel, and sightings of extraterrestrial beings. Governments scrambled to respond, though no one could fully explain what had happened. Only Malik, Jamal, Mr. Harrison, and a handful of others knew the truth, and they weren't about to share it. Inside the boys' house, the group gathered around the kitchen table to discuss their next steps. Lyra explained that the Federation would dismantle the consortium's operations worldwide, ensuring that none of their allies or enemies could exploit Earth's resources again. However, she warned that not everyone would welcome the intervention. Some humans might see the Federation's actions as an invasion rather than assistance. "We'll leave that to you," Lyra said, addressing Malik and Jamal. "You've already proven yourselves capable leaders. Now it's your turn to help guide your planet into this new era." Jamal blinked in surprise. "Us? Leaders? We're just kids." "You may be young, but you're brave, smart, and willing to fight for what's right," Lyra replied. "Those are qualities any leader should have." Malik grinned, nudging his brother playfully. "Guess we're saving the world now, huh?" Before leaving, Lyra offered Malik and Jamal a choice: stay on Earth or join her aboard one of the Federation's starships to explore the universe. The offer was tempting, more than tempting. Who wouldn't want to travel among the stars, meet alien civilizations, and witness wonders beyond imagination? But as much as they dreamed of adventure, both boys knew where they belonged. "Our family needs us," Malik said after a long pause. "And so does Earth." Jamal nodded in agreement. "Yeah. Besides, someone's got to make sure people don't freak out when they realize aliens exist." Lyra smiled warmly. "Very well. But remember, the galaxy will always welcome you if you change your minds." With that, she activated a holographic communicator and stepped outside. Moments later, a beam of light enveloped her, lifting her into the air and carrying her back to one of the waiting starships. As the vessels ascended into the sky, Malik and Jamal waved goodbye, feeling a mix of sadness and pride. In the days that followed, life in Maplewood slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as it could get after such an extraordinary event. The black helicopters disappeared, and the men in dark suits vanished without a trace. Rumors spread about government cover-ups and secret experiments, but no one could prove anything. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison went into hiding once more, determined to continue his work safely. Before parting ways, he promised Malik and Jamal that he'd dedicate his inventions to helping humanity, rather than harming it. As for the boys themselves, they became local legends overnight. People whispered about how two ordinary kids had somehow thwarted a global conspiracy involving billionaires, shadowy organizations, and even aliens. While Malik and Jamal kept quiet about the details, they couldn't help but feel proud of what they'd accomplished. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars twinkle above, Jamal leaned back in his chair and sighed contentedly. "Do you think we'll ever see Lyra again?" Probably, Malik replied with a shrug. She said the galaxy always welcomes us, right? Maybe one day we'll take her up on that offer. Jamal grinned. Yeah, imagine telling Mom and Dad we're going to space for vacation. They laughed, the sound echoing softly in the cool night air. For now, though, they were happy to stay grounded, to enjoy the simple pleasures of home, family, and friendship. Yet deep down, they knew their lives would never truly be ordinary again. Every time they looked up at the night sky, they felt a spark of excitement. Somewhere out there, among the billions of stars, were friends and foes they had yet to meet. And maybe, just maybe, their greatest adventures were still ahead. The days that followed were a blur of tension and determination. Malik, Jamal, and Mr. Harrison worked tirelessly, knowing that every second counted. The black helicopters continued to circle above Maplewood, their ominous hum growing louder with each passing hour. Men in dark suits lingered on the streets, asking questions at local shops and peeking into backyards. It was clear that the consortium, or whoever they were working for, was closing in. Despite the mounting pressure, Mr. Harrison remained focused. His makeshift workshop in the basement had transformed into something resembling a high-tech lab. Wires crisscrossed the floor like tangled vines, connecting strange devices that glowed faintly in the dim light. At the center of it all sat the prototype communicator, a jagged assembly of salvaged parts and glowing crystals. It looked fragile, almost incomplete, but Harrison assured the boys that it would work. "We're almost there," he said one evening, wiping sweat from his brow. "Just a few more adjustments and we'll be ready to send the signal." Malik leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. And then what? What if no one answers? Harrison paused, his hands hovering over the device. "Then we'll have to come up with another plan. But I'm betting someone will hear us. There are good people and beings out there who want to help." Jamal, who had been sitting cross-legged on the floor nearby, piped up. "What if the bad aliens show up first?" "They won't," Harrison replied firmly, though his voice betrayed a hint of uncertainty. "We're sending this signal on a frequency only trusted allies know about. If anyone intercepts it, they'll know we're under attack." "But how do you know for sure?" Malik pressed. "I don't," Harrison admitted, "but right now it's our best shot." That night, as the boys lay in bed, the weight of their situation pressed down on them. Outside, the sound of helicopter blades slicing through the air was constant, keeping everyone on edge. Malik stared at the ceiling, his mind racing with questions. What if the signal didn't work? What if the consortium found them before help arrived? And most importantly, could they really trust Mr. Harrison's mysterious allies? Jamal, sensing his brother's unease, rolled over and whispered, "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Malik sighed. "I don't know, Jam, but we've come this far. We can't quit now." Jamal nodded, though he still looked worried. "Yeah, besides it's kinda cool, isn't it? Like being in a movie or something." Malik chuckled softly. "Yeah, except in movies the heroes usually win." "Well, maybe we will too," Jamal said, grinning despite the gravity of their situation. The next morning, the trio gathered in the basement to finalize the communicator. Harrison explained that the device would emit a series of pulses, like a beacon that would travel across vast distances, reaching potential allies in space. The process required precise timing and careful calibration, which meant they couldn't afford any mistakes. "You two need to keep watch while I finish setting this up," Harrison instructed. "If anyone approaches the house, let me know immediately." Malik and Jamal nodded, grabbing flashlights and heading outside. They took turns patrolling the perimeter of the property, scanning the woods and streets for any signs of trouble. The air was thick with anticipation, every rustle of leaves or distant car engine making their hearts race. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the yard, Jamal spotted something unusual. A sleek black car was parked a few houses down, its windows tinted so darkly that it was impossible to see inside. Two figures sat motionless in the front seat, their presence unmistakably menacing. "Malik," Jamal hissed, ducking behind a tree. "They're here." Malik hurried over, peering cautiously around the trunk. Are you sure it's them? Who else would it be? Jamal whispered back. Before Malik could respond, the car's engine roared to life, and it sped away down the street. Both boys exhaled sharply, though their relief was short-lived. Whoever those men were, they hadn't given up yet. Back in the basement, Harrison was putting the finishing touches on the communicator. Beads of sweat dripped from his forehead as he adjusted the final settings. The device hummed softly, its glow intensifying with each passing second. "It's ready," he announced, stepping back to admire his handiwork. Malik and Jamal exchanged nervous glances. "Now what?" Jamal asked. Harrison flipped a switch, and the room filled with a low, rhythmic, pulsing sound. The glowing crystal at the center of the device began to pulse in sync, sending waves of light rippling outward. "Now we wait," Harrison said simply. Minutes ticked by, then hours. The boys watched anxiously as the communicator continued its steady rhythm, hoping against hope that someone or something would respond. Just when it seemed like nothing was going to happen, the device emitted a sharp beep. "What was that?" Malik exclaimed, jumping to his feet. Harrison's eyes widened. "It's a response. Someone heard us." Before anyone could celebrate, however, a loud knock echoed through the house. The sound sent chills down everyone's spines. Malik instinctively grabbed a baseball bat leaning against the wall, while Jamal clung to Harrison's arm. "Who is it?" Malik called out, trying to sound braver than he felt. There was no answer, just another knock, this time louder and more insistent. "Stay here," Malik whispered to the others before creeping toward the stairs. When he reached the door, he hesitated, gripping the bat tightly. Taking a deep breath, he swung it open and froze. Standing on the porch was a woman unlike anyone Malik had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight, and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly hue. She wore a sleek silver uniform adorned with symbols that looked alien yet strangely familiar. "Are you human?" Malik stammered, unable to look away. The woman smiled warmly. "Not exactly. My name is Commander Lyra, and I'm here to help." Commander Lyra stepped inside, her movements graceful and deliberate. Malik led her to the basement, where Harrison and Jamal were waiting. When she saw the communicator, her expression softened. "You did well," she said, addressing Harrison. "Your message reached us just in time." "Us?" Jamal blurted out. "You mean aliens?" Lyra nodded. "Yes. I represent the Galactic Federation, a coalition of advanced civilizations dedicated to protecting weaker species from exploitation." Malik raised an eyebrow. "So you're the good guys?" "The very best," Lyra replied with a wink. Harrison wasted no time getting to the point. "How much do you know about the consortium?" "Enough," Lyra said grimly. "They've been causing trouble across multiple galaxies, often allying themselves with hostile factions. Their goal is simple: domination. But Earth has something they desperately want: your invention. And now they know I'm here," Harrison added, running a hand through his hair. Lyra placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry, we'll handle them. But first we need proof of their involvement. Hard evidence that we can present to the Federation Council." "That won't be easy," Harrison admitted. "Their headquarters is heavily guarded." "We'll find a way," Malik interjected firmly. Lyra turned to the boys, studying them with her glowing eyes. "You've already proven yourselves brave and resourceful. Would you be willing to assist us further?" Malik glanced at Jamal, who nodded enthusiastically. "Of course," Malik replied. "We're in." Over the next hour, Lyra outlined their plan. Using her advanced technology, she created holographic projections of the consortium's underground lair. Hidden tunnels, secret entrances, and security systems were all mapped out in stunning detail. "Our mission is simple," Lyra explained. "Infiltrate their base, gather evidence, and get out safely. Once we have what we need, the Federation fleet will neutralize the threat." "But what about weapons?" Jamal asked nervously. "We don't even have anything to defend ourselves with." Lyra pulled small devices from her belt and handed them to the boys. "These are energy shields. They'll protect you from harm, but use them wisely. As dawn broke, the group prepared for their dangerous mission. Malik and Jamal felt a mix of excitement and fear coursing through their veins. They were about to embark on an adventure far beyond anything they'd ever imagined. "We're ready," Malik said confidently, gripping his shield. Lyra smiled. "Good. Let's save your planet, and maybe the galaxy." With that, they set off into the unknown, determined to face whatever dangers lay ahead.